All right, right now what I'm going to go over is briefly go over simple interest. And let me go ahead and grab. Where's my copy? All right, let's go like this. Okay. Okay, so right now I'm going to be going over simple interest. And there's a couple of things we want to remember when we talk about simple interest. I'll give those to you real quickly. A couple of terms we need to know. We do know what interest is. We have to know what the principal is. The principal is the money that you start with. So in this situation, I'm starting out with $100. So that is my principal. That's the money I'm bringing to the bank to put in the bank. The next thing we need to know is rate. And the rate here in this case is an APR, an annual presented rate, and it is 4%. We always want to remember that the rate should be as a decimal. So in this case, if it's 4%, we write that as a decimal. That is 0.04. Okay, so always is a percentage for the rate. And the last thing we have is time. I can see my time right here. In this case, we're measuring in years. But as you can see, we have some different terminology for time as well. So our time could be annual. It could be biannual, which is every 2 years. It could be semi-annual, which is every half year or 6 months, and you'll see one like that. It could be monthly, every month, or daily, every day. I'm not sure what other ones we might have. Maybe every 5 years. I think I've seen a bank with every 2 years or every 4 years or something like that. It's really terrible bank, but for interest purposes, that is. So let's start out. We want to remember, here's our formula we could use if we want to calculate each year out. We could do it with this formula. Interest equals principal times rate times time. So again, the interest, the total interest we earn, would be the principal times the rate times the time. And remember, the rate is as a decimal. But for the time being, we'll just use a more simple step-by-step way to do this. So to start out, we're going to say, I'm going to start with my $100 principal. And then I'm going to take and multiply that times my rate. My rate of interest is 0.04. And we said that that is as a decimal. And if I multiply 100 times 0.04, 4% of 100 is $4. So in this first box, I'm going to put $4. And the beautiful part about simple interest is actually in this box, in this column, for every one of my intervals here, I'm going to have $4. I'm going to tell you why in 1 second. So this actually is a little bit easier than compound interest because it's the same number. Once you figure it out once, it's going to be the same throughout your simulation or whatever you're doing. Now the reason that this is the same number is because for simple interest, I'll write it here, simple interest, you always, underline that, use the original principal. Now I've highlighted the original principal in green here, so that's that first $100. No matter what, it's going to always be that number that I use to add to, or to figure out the interest. Okay, so if I were to take this and say 100 plus $4, that would be $104. Now the total interest that I've earned so far is So now my next total in year number 2, I'm going to be starting out with $104. To this $104, I need to add the next bit of interest. So the interest, again, always stays the same in simple interest because I'm always going to use the principal from the original amount, which is $100. So it's always going to be $4. I'm always just adding 4 to this amount. So if I were to add $4 to $104, I would come out with $108. Now, how much interest have I earned so far? Over 2 years, I have earned $8. $8 worth of free money. Now, my next total for year 3, I have now in the bank, not just $100, I have $108. Again, I add my interest, which is always going to be $4 because it's the original principal. $4 plus 108 is 112. How much interest did I earn so far? I've earned $12. In year 4, I'm starting with $112. I add my interest. The interest is $4 because it's from the original principal. And I come out with $116. And then, how much interest have I earned so far? Well, I've earned $16 in interest. That was money I didn't have before. Year 5, I'm starting with $16 more than I had at the beginning. I have $116 total. That $4 comes because I'm only using the original principal to factor this in. $4 plus 116 is 120. How much money have I earned? Well, I have earned from nothing $20, and that is the total interest over 5 years. Now, if I'd like, I could also take each year, I could put 2 years and plug that into my equation here and put 100 times 0.04 times 2, and it would tell me that I would end up with $8. I could also put in 3 in the time slot here, and it would tell me I'd earn $12 if I do the math out. Or I could follow this table and do that. Now moving on, let's change the rate just a little bit to show you. So the rate is going to change. Notice here it's changed to 3.5%. Remember, our rate is always written as a decimal, so 3.5% is 0.035. I'm going to take and multiply that times 100 to see how much interest am I earning every year. Well, in this case, that is $3.50. So if I add these two together now, I have $103, and 50 cents. How much interest have I accrued so far to date? Well, I have $3.50 that I've earned. Remember, with simple interest, the key word here is original. So let's recall simple interest uses the original. If you remember that term, principal, not with an L, with an AL, because that's the right way to do it. Okay, so I have $3.50 now. My total now is $103.50. I'm going to add to that $3.50 more, which puts me at $107. How much money have I earned? Well, I had 100, now I have 107, so I have earned 7 big whopping dollars. Next up, I now have $107 to start year number 3. I add that $3.50 more, which puts me at $110.50. Hang on 1 second. Got my numbers out of place here. I'm just going to go ahead and put my 350 all the way down because I'm always using the same principle. I'm using that $100 for each of these interest calculations. So now I just need to add across. That's $110.50. I have earned $10.50. $110.50 here, so this puts me at $114 right now. $110.50 plus $3.50 equals $114, and this puts me at $14 that I earned. Lastly, I have $114 plus $3.50 is $117.50, which means I have earned $17.50 over the course of this 5-year period. The bank is giving me $17.15. Okay, so this is again how our interest works. We have to remember simple interest is our original principal only. Let's see one more example here. That might be trickier. Okay. Now in this one, it looks quite a bit like the last one we did, except that we are adding our interest semi-annually. Remember, semi-annual means every 6 months. So in this case, I'm going to be taking every 6 months and I'm going to be adding that interest in. Okay? So in this case, it would be a lot better deal, I think. It's still, if I'm at 4%, it's still going to be $4 all the way down. So remember, I take 0.04, 100 times 0.04, that's as a decimal. And I'm just going to write this all the way down here. And hopefully we can see that if our bank adds our interest more often, we get more money, which is nice. So I come across here, I had $100, I add 4 to that, so now I have 104, which means I have $4 earned. I'm starting with 104 here. I add this next $4 because, again, I'm using the original principal only. You're going to get a headache when you say that. I'm at 108. After 1 year, I'm up to 108 now. It's doubling faster. Now I have the next 6 month period would be 8 plus 4 more dollars is 112, not 10. And I've earned $12. Another $4 puts me at 116. So again, I'm just adding across now. So I can keep going down here all the way down. I'm just going to do my math a little more quickly here so we can get through this. $120, $120, $124. So now we can see that if we were to compound, or if we were to add our interest semi-annually here, then it would actually double our interest total. Instead of coming out with $20, we'd be able to come out with $40 over the course of that 5-year period. If our bank was using simple interest to do that. So again, looking at this, we can see a couple different things that are important. We have our rate. We always want to make sure that is in a decimal. We have our principal, but the most important part of the principal is not the principal when we add it up, but only that original principal. And we also have our time, but we're not really calculating the formula using the time right now. We're just kind of going step by step to make it a little more simple to follow. So that's about it for simple interest.